Hello, and welcome to the Sugar Bell Review, a program dedicated to learning about the people, places, and policies that make up the Bellbrook Sugar Creek community. This evening we have with us Brian Lampton. Thank you very much. He is running for the Republican ticket in District 73, correct?
Yes.
All right. So we would love to get to know a little bit more about you. It's something that would be interesting to me, if nothing else. So how'd you end up in Ohio?
Well, I was born and raised in Kettering.
Okay.
I attended Kettering schools and graduated from Fairmont West when it was East and West. And we, in fact, in '83, we were the last graduating class of West and East because the year after, it was Fairmont.
They combined it, yeah, because Josh graduated from Fairmont.
Yep. And then I went on to University of Dayton.
Okay.
And I spent 4 years there, earned a communications degree, a bachelor's degree in communications. And then from there, I had a brief job with Ford Credit. I worked in the financing department there and didn't enjoy that very much. And at the young age of 25, I became an licensed insurance agent, and I've been doing that ever since.
That seemed to be your niche.
Yes. As of today's the 10th, so as of the 1st of September, I have spent 30 years in this business.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really positive. Do you run your own company, or do
Yes, I left Nationwide 7 years in, and I'm an independent agent now.
Oh, that's neat. Now, are you still in Kettering?
No. So I moved, let's see, I've lived in West Carrollton briefly, and then Beaver Creek. And spent most of my adult years in Beaver Creek, raising a family there and working there. My office also in Beaver Creek.
Okay, so that you've been fairly local.
Yeah, all but 1 year. 1 year when I was with Ford, the finance, shipped me out to Philadelphia.
Oh, that must have been an adjustment.
That was weird. So I spent 1 year in Philadelphia, and now I'm much happier back here in Ohio, Dayton, Beaver Creek. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, do you have young kids, or are they pretty much?
Oh, they're adult, graduated. My son graduated from Bowling Green.
Okay. And
he just celebrated his 28th birthday. And my daughter graduated from the Ohio State University. We have to say it that way. The Ohio State University. And she's actually going to be applying to veterinarian's school.
That's what my daughter wants to do. That's
Great.
Exciting.
Yes, she loves it. She does work at a vet now in Centerville. I don't remember the name of the place.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah, yep.
I wish her luck. I hope she does well.
And I wish your daughter luck as well. It's, as you know, it's very difficult to get in.
She's still young enough that it may not be where she finally ends up, but at this point it's what she keeps talking about.
As long as I can remember, she wanted to be a veterinarian.
Okay,
and
well.
she's still doing it.
That we may be in the same boat someday.
Yep.
It's been pretty consistent for the last 4 years, I think.
Good.
But no, that's really exciting. Now, on to the politics angle of it. Have you always been a Republican?
Well, so my family they explained to me that we, when you're a kid, you're part of the family, were what's called Kennedy Democrats.
Okay.
And born and raised Catholic. And I think that's one of the big reasons why. He was a Catholic, first Catholic president, in fact. But when I got into business for myself, and I had to, do payroll and learn about all the taxes, and you had to do all that stuff yourself, it became quite overwhelming, first of all, very confusing. And I thought, well, where's all this going? Why am I spending all this? The state gets some, the city gets some, the federal, and it's like, boy, that's a lot. So I started reading about both parties. And from what I read, it just suited me better from what the Republican values were, fiscally conservative, and things of that nature. And so the more I learned and the more I And it was weird. Most of my friends were Republicans. Didn't know it at the time, but as I got more involved, I kind of discovered, hey, I'm in the right group.
So how did you end up deciding to run this year?
Well, so it's obviously something I've been, let's call it on the sidelines, involved. Helped several friends with their campaigns, but never my own. Obviously, the seat is what's called an open seat. The current representative's term limited, and I was actually asked by a couple of other friends, a couple of elected officials, to consider running. And I thought about it for quite a while, called a few folks, others, and they're like, yeah, do it. That's great. So threw my hat in, and here we are.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. It definitely sounds, so you've worked on a few, kind of in the background, worked on several campaigns with different people. Was it Rick Perales or with other more local?
Well, several city council races, a few school board races, and another good friend of mine, when he first ran for the county, I'll get it, auditor.
Okay.
No, not auditor. Pardon, I knew I'd do that. He does the title work and all that. Why can't I think of it? Eric
It
Sears.
doesn't matter.
Anyway, I helped with his campaign and some others.
Well, that's exciting. Now, what have you sort of settled on as the most important elements that you feel that you are going to try and support if you're elected?
Well, I think what I bring is obviously I've been very community involved. In the 30 years, president of 2 chambers. I'm actually current president of the Fairborn Chamber. I've taken many leadership classes, and I also think of my 30 years experience as an insurance guy. Insurance to me isn't a sales job. I mean, it sort of is, but I like to think of myself as an advisor. I help people with their insurance, business insurance, and so forth. And so I provide a service, and I think the political job is a service job. And so I just want to take that service experience that I've had and apply it to the state and apply it to the good folks of District 73.
So are you looking at it more from a fiscal angle?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of issues. So the first one's going to be the budget, and that's the biggie. And with COVID, all the unemployment, monies that have been spent, there are going to be some challenges. I'm sure. So I know the whole assembly will be working on that for the first several months.
Possibly the first year or two.
Well, they have to pass it by June.
Okay.
So after that, there are some other things. Now, I'll give you one good example. Rick Perales started this. It's called Jacob's Law.
Okay.
And I met the family. And what had happened was this very, I want to say 18-month-old baby was killed. And the person that killed him had a previous record of violence against young children. And so the Jacob's Law would put those convicted child, I don't know the proper word, it would be in a database. So families can look, just like the sexual predator database.
So they can, registry.
Exactly. So this registry, so families could look to see if any potential or current caregiver
is on that list.
Oh. So Rick's, he believes he's got it out of committee, but it probably won't make the floor and get it. But so if it's still pending, I would like to pick that up and see that through. It does make a lot of sense.
So you'd be following in some of the footsteps that way and making sure that things that had been begun before you were elected can be completed. Or at least as completed as they sometimes ever get to be.
Yeah. There are several other things. Obviously, it's so important that we protect the base. It's the largest single site employer in the state.
It really is.
And it's crucial that we keep missions coming to the base and keep folks here. So I would be all over that. Absolutely. We need to support the military, I'm a member of the MVMAA. It's a Miami Valley Military Affairs Association.
Okay.
They're a wonderful group, and that's their job. They support our local airmen
Okay.
through a myriad of
Ways.
fundraising things and ways that they do with the families. And it's about the family. So when the airman is deployed, the MVMAA, the wife or the kids can call.
Okay.
Hey, we need help with this or that, and the MVMAA, we're there. They're there. So
That's probably
it's
very
a wonderful
important.
organization.
We have so many veterans and people who
Yeah.
are currently enlisted living in the area that it's a very important part of the community.
It is. And another biggie, as we had talked about, is school funding.
Yeah.
It's a big problem, and it's a big problem in Fairborn, in Beaver Creek, and in Bellbrook.
Well, the state has put it on the local communities to fund their education, and
Yes.
it gets to a point where the local communities are strained and the state's not stepping in the way it could.
Yep, and there's so many different methods. Well, and I believe it was the late 80s, the state Supreme Court deemed the funding,
91.
it was 91.
It
I
was
close.
91 and it went to 2003. It was a 12-year battle. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's that, what is it? Thorough and efficient, because that's definitive.
Right. So yeah, something has to be done. It's big. If you look at the budget, it's close to 50% of the state budget. So it's big, and there's
Yeah.
so many
Nuances.
players and parts. But I don't think anybody would disagree. Something needs to be done. What that is, I don't know. But I hope it's a priority for the upcoming assembly.
It sounds like it's both a priority for both candidates that are running for the seat, which is good because you're right. It is definitely a bit of a mess and could use a little attending too.
Yes, it does. You are right.
So, well, thank you. It's definitely good to know that where you are on all this and hear your thoughts on the subject. And we're grateful that you've taken the time to come out and speak to me and my viewers. And we're grateful that you are putting yourself out there so that they have that option available to them when they get to the polls on November 3rd, correct?
November 3rd.
November
that's right.
3rd. So we appreciate
And
you.
their early voting will begin October
October
6th, I believe.
Okay.
Everyone should actually have received their ballot request form.
From LaRose, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they can stay safe, stay at home, apply through the mail, receive the ballot, vote, fold it back up,
They can either put it in the mail or they can drop it off,
and
correct?
they can drop it
Yeah.
off at the Board of Elections office on Ledbetter Road in Xenia.
And that's the Greene County, and of course,
Yes.
if you're from another county, most other counties also have Board of
Oh, yeah.
Elections they can drop it off at, which is
That's right.
fantastic.
Yep. And Ohio is one of the few states that has 30 days of early voting.
Well, I didn't know that. That's
One of the
nice.
few states. It's and you'll be able to vote early in person.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure when that opens, but
have to
it will
look
be
into that.
available. They'll have special hours. It'll be posted on their website. So if you don't want to do it by mail, you can go to Ledbetter Road at the office and
Actually use the little machine.
vote in person.
I think we did that in the spring, right
Did you?
before they closed.
I did it early in the primary in the spring as well, and then it got
Yep.
interesting.
Yes, that is one way to put it.
Yeah,
It did get interesting.
sure did, especially the night before.
Yeah. We're have other reasons to be interested, so we were kind of watching what was going to happen with bated breath as well. It was like, is it going? Is it not going? What's it
Right.
going to do?
We're you on? We're off?
Yep.
We're
exact-
off. We're on. We're off.
Started to feel a bit like a light switch.
Yep. And in fact, my mom drove to the polls that morning and was wondering why the parking lot was empty. Because they didn't know.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard to get information out to the community because you've got people who read the newspaper, you've got people who listen to the news on TV or who listen to the radio, you've got people who are online only, who only
Right,
do
right.
Apple News or
Sure.
who only do Facebook. You've got it's like it's must have been easier 40 years ago when everybody just watched the same news programs at
Right.
5 p.m.
Yep, exactly.
This
Well,
whole-
and that decision wasn't made till was about 11 o'clock that night.
Yeah, it
So,
was. Yep.
People went to bed. I'm going to go vote tomorrow morning.
And they woke up and they were like, no, not going to happen.
Not happening.
Well, We appreciate the conversation and
Yeah,
you
thank
taking
you.
the time this evening. And we hope everybody has learned a little something and that our
Great.
viewers can take a look at both candidates and then in November or October, make the
Right.
decision that's best for them. So thank you so much. We really
You're welcome.
appreciated
Thank
the
you.
time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Have a great evening, everyone. We're glad you could join us and we will talk to you the next time.